Yeah, we look at it as a giant puzzle, right? So we do
Yeah.
the best we can figuring out where do we think we're going to be next year, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And we're looking at all of our different investment buckets. How much do we have in a brokerage account that's taxed at capital gains? How much do we have in a Roth, our 401k, those types of things. And so when we're trying to figure out the plan design, right? You said installment payments. I look at it as, I have a lot of clients in our firm that have pensions and we're figuring out, well, do we take it over 5 years at a certain age? Similar situation here, right? We usually don't want to err on the side of like the lump sum because it's going to be a big check. That's all going to be ordinary income. Don't want that. But looking at the plan design, figuring out what's our income going to be in retirement and how do we want to fill that up? Maybe it's going to be a combination of that ordinary income from the deferred compensation plan on top of some cash, on top of some capital gains. And really now, if we do the hard work of leaning into the plan, rolling up our sleeves, we can start to figure out what tax bracket we're going to be in based off of today. Of course, we always say, tax legislation and pencil, but we generally have a good idea of, okay, if I take this much and stretch it out over 10 years or 15 years, this is going to give me this much. And then if that's still short, well, I could take some from cash from my brokerage account and we have a little more control. And so when we start putting together plans that have deferred compensation component in that, that's what we're trying to look at from like a projection standpoint is like, how does this work not only on the tax savings today and in retirement, but playing the tax bracket game later on into the future.
Another way of saying it, we're making a guess.
Yep.
We're making a guess about tax arbitrage. And we're thinking that if we defer this income, you're going to be better off by doing so. And it is a guess. No one knows what future tax rates will be. That's why you just said they're written in pencil. But to your point, this plan is usually a good plan for people who are not tight on liquidity, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have tight cash flow, just move on to the next episode. Not for you. Obviously, you have to be able to participate in this, which usually means you're in the upper echelons of a company with upper echelons of income so that it's something that's given to you as a benefit. The moment that happens, you do want to see what the credit quality of your employer is,
right?
Because this is money that you do put away. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not yours technically. It's technically yours, but it's also not yours. It's in what we call a RABI trust. It's created in a manner that allows it to have these tax benefits without it being flowing through the traditional system that already exists. It's kind of off to the side. But because of that, while it's on running through this program, it's really open to the creditors of the employer. So if they were to not be able to pay bills, they could go utilize these assets. So you want to make sure your employer has strong credit quality and isn't going to go down. The next thing is, you kind of mentioned it before, what's the plan design? And is it flexible?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes plans will say things like, if you leave the company, you have to take your deferred comp as a lump sum. Well, that could be not very cool, right? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily hurt you if you're already in the highest tax bracket. You basically just don't get to do the arbitrage that you were trying to do in that instance. If you're already in the 37% bracket and you're already in the highest income bracket in your state, it doesn't really change much for you, but it does make it so you have this huge windfall that you have to go do something else with. Hopefully they make it so that when you leave and separate, you can keep that much the way you get to keep your old 401k in that echelon as well, right? And you get to choose to move it when you want to.